Having already covered our curated list of the very best watches under $1,000, if your budget allows, the next best tier is naturally at or under $2,000. By doubling your watch buying budget, you primarily garner access to a number of top-tier brands that don't offer references available at a sub-$1,000 price point because of their construction, materials, or design. For $2,000, our best watch guide will cover 7 of our favorite references with MSRPs between $1,000 and $2,000, with a few minor exceptions, that truly stand above the rest. So let's dive in. Occupying what we consider to be the top spot in the Sinn 556 family, the 556i is our official best everyday watch pick around $1,500, hundreds less than our qualifying price point of $2,000. So let's break that down. So what goes into a great everyday watch? If you haven't already checked out our previous guides, we'll give you the spark notes and then quickly move on. Alongside a case size of no more than 40mm, this also includes a metal bracelet, a water resistance of at least 100 meters, and the presence of decent lume. Additionally, everyday watches must possess an overall appearance that blends into a wide variety of settings, from more casual, dressed-down uses to fancier, more dressed-up occasions. So, pay close attention to that last part, talking specifically about versatility as we defend the reasons behind our selection. The Sinn 556i sports a satin-finished 38.5mm case diameter, which, as we mentioned, sits comfortably under 40mm for a true everyday fit. With a thickness of just 11mm and a lug-to-lug of 45.5mm, the all-around modest dimensions ensure the 556i looks as though it was meant to fit on any wrist size. Standard is a word that comes to mind, but the word standard sounds a bit lackluster. Perhaps a better set of adjectives to describe the 556i's case would be archetypal or timeless. The all-satin stainless steel finish helps humanize the 556i, giving it an everyday man's appeal that sits comfortably between a high polish and completely matte. It also maintains harmony between the crisp edges around the bezel and the softer, gentle curves around the lugs. The standard 20mm lug width also allows the 556i's versatility to shine, doing well with everything from the standard stainless steel bracelet to a third-party NATO. And in terms of utility, the 556i's case maintains 200 meters of water resistance, thanks to a conservatively designed screw-down crown, so you'd even be safe with this go-anywhere, do-anything unit for moderate dives. Many consider the 556i, in addition to the hardline specs, a tool watch because of its dial design language, akin to a pilot's watch dial or a field watch dial, with stark contrast between the white indices and hands and the jet black dial used for quick legibility. We'd even go so far as to say that you'd be correct also planting the 556i in the sports watch category for the same reasons. Under anti-reflective sapphire crystal, although stark, what's present on the dial is intentional and more than thorough. The beautiful Sinn script just below the 12, 2 marker sizes applied with generous lume for the minute markers, a simple date cutout at the 3 o'clock, and a standard trio of hands that almost seem to float as the non-lume section at their bases blend in with the dial background. Last, but certainly not least, automatic reads above the 6 to hint at the self-winding movement that lies at the heart of the 556i. Fully self-winding with a 38-hour power reserve, this Sellita SW200-1 uses a rich gold-branded Sinn rotor and utilizes 26 joules. By employing this top-tier movement, the 556i rubs shoulders with the likes of Oris, Alpina, and Christopher Ward, who each employed the trusty 26-joule caliber to power some of their references like the Aquitaine Titanium Date, the Sea-Strong Diver, and the C60 Trident Pro. We've driven home the watch's versatility, and due to the 20mm lug width, pairing the 556i with basically any bracelet or strap allows the reference to almost shapeshift to seamlessly incorporate into any situation. Yet another reason we gave the 556i our go-anywhere, do-anything best everyday watch pick. Other than the wildly popular satinized 2-link stainless steel bracelet, the vintage-styled black cowhide leather strap sports, well, sporty red decorative stitching, and shapes up as a great, more affordable option for everyday wear that will form-fit to the wrist over time. Moving on, we've said it before, but we'll say it again. If there is one thing that Doxa knows, it's dive watches. They've been at it since 1889, so trust us that the most obvious best dive watch pick is a reference from Doxa, in this case the Sub 300 Professional. We won't take the time here to list its extensive accolades in detail, there are many, but there is a laundry list of reasons why Doxa's popularity in the dive watch community and beyond has sustained for more than 130 years. Even before donning the 300 on the wrist, you can tell this thing is a well-built tank, a true workhorse tailor-made for diving applications, while keeping a bright, sporty aesthetic courtesy of Doxa's use of bold dial colors. Arguably the most important construction element of a reliable diver, the Sub 300 Professional uses a full stainless steel barrel-shaped 42.5mm case with a screw-down crown affording 300 meters of water resistance. Before anyone hastily points it out, we'll be the first to say that yes, the Sub 300T is technically the more adept diver with up to 1200 meters of water resistance and a helium release valve. The 300T also sits below our qualifying price point compared to our pick, the smaller 300 at $2,490. While yes, we did technically cheat our own system here, the Sub 300 however remains the suitable everyman's choice for those who aren't planning on any serious diving past 1,000 feet, as you still get most of everything afforded to the Sub 300T in the Sub 300 in a slightly smaller, more wearable form factor. We digress. The Sub 300 Professional measures a modest 45mm lug to lug and 13.4mm in height, which, as we mentioned along with the 42.5mm diameter, places the watch comfortably in everyday wear scenarios. However, everyday wear aside, any dive watch worth its weight needs a timing bezel. They can range between uber functional to mere placeholders, but in this case the bezel on the Doxa Sub 300 Professional falls firmly in the first camp. For serious users, the unidirectional timing bezel with depth indicators are critical, and if that's the only gauge on hand, we'd say it's absolutely essential for safety. Although extremely toolish in appearance, Doxa is hyper-recognizable, often utilizing bold and colorful dial colorways. While immediately recognizable, the color also serves up bright legibility in dark situations, and uses an inverted color scheme, light background, dark indices, to improve legibility without leaning so hard on lume like most other divers on the market do. For example, the classic Rolex Sea Dweller uses a dark black background and white markers for contrast, and the Omega Seamaster uses a dark blue or black background with white markers for legibility. Many of Doxa's divers, like the Sub 300, flip the script, with a bright, almost self-luminous background and dark markers, running in the opposite direction to other traditional divers. Even though Doxa doesn't lean too hard on lume for legibility, it does still employ generous amounts on the markers and hands, and even provides a white date punch-out at the 3 o'clock. Powering the sporty diver is a trusty ETA 2824-2 Swiss automatic movement that extends across a wide range of Doxa references. It is solid, reliable, and durable, having been used since the early 80s from the likes of Tissot, Hamilton, and Tudor, to name a few. And providing 38 hours of power or plenty of reserve for more than a couple regular dives, the COSC certified caliber is one that will certainly not buckle under any pressure. Rounding out its features, the Beads of Rice style stainless steel bracelet affords a lot of flexibility on the wrist, which in turn translates to a high level of comfort. It also looks great for normal, everyday wear, with 2 levels of polish and a folding clasp, showcasing the iconic Doxa fish logo. Field and military watches are often less costly than other more intricately constructed references, a natural byproduct of less premium materials and utility-first functions that are prioritized over elevated design. The 38mm standard issue field watch flips the script and takes our pick as the best military-inspired field watch under $2,000. What the Weiss watch company has done, helmed by watchmaker Cameron Weiss, is extremely special for a reference definitely exceeding the standard moniker. For starters, at first glance, the 38mm unit is incredibly easy on the eyes, well-proportioned, embodying all the design trademarks of a field watch, and sporting premium finishes. Internally, the standard issue field watch utilizes a movement hand-assembled in Los Angeles, constructed from more than 100 differing Swiss parts for a truly standalone piece that clocks in right at our qualifying price point of $2,000. You won't find many mechanical field watches backed up by true American engineering, all the way down to the hand-polished 316L stainless steel case. At 38mm in diameter, the standard issue field watch also sports a 46.2mm lug-to-lug and a 9.2mm thickness. And since field watches generally lean a bit more conservative in terms of style, often employing brushed or matte case finishes, the standard issue field watch subs in a rounded, highly polished fixed bezel on top of an angular base and a straight set of lugs for a visibly unique profile. Our best field watch pick also comes equipped with utility, despite its highbrow styling, by offering 100 meters of water resistance backed up by a push-pull crown. On the 180, a beautiful exhibition window with a thick brushed bezel with airplane-like rivets secures the case back. Sitting beneath a double-domed and bright sapphire crystal, the rich jet black dial, similar to the Sinn 556i, in addition to the bright white applied dial details, help create the high contrast expected and demanded from a utility-first unit. Did we mention each naval brass dial is hand-painted? Weiss Watch Company offers up 4 different options for a bespoke dial, but staying true to the classic field watch style, the black variant is the default choice. Although the exterior portions and styling of the watch break the field watch mold, or at least elevate it, the caliber at the heart of the standard issue field watch only further solidifies the reference as a true statement piece. The Weiss Watch Company has built the foundation of their operation at the intersection of traditional watchmaking craftsmanship and modern technology, but The handmade operation is no less obvious than the hand-assembled Weiss Watch Company Caliber 1005 mechanical movement. At its heart, they've taken an ETA 7001 and then integrated over 100 genuine Swiss-made parts for a one-of-a-kind mechanical caliber with fully manual winding, a 21,600 beat rate, a small second sub-dial complication at the 6 o'clock, and a capability of reserving an impressive 42 hours of power. If you're also looking to stay true to the field watch MO, we'd recommend one of their hand-stitched canvas straps, like this one here in olive green. But if you're looking for something a bit more substantial for a night out on the town, as you can most certainly dress this tool watch up, the Weiss Watch Company offers more than a dozen different strap options of leather, canvas, and cordovan. We'd hazard a guess that if you haven't heard of Tissot, you're probably new to the watch world, or if not, you maybe live, well, under a rock. Having previously swooned over the Tissot PRX 35mm and the PRX Powermatic 80, we're now rounding off the trinity of PRX references with the Tissot PRX Chronograph, clocking in right around $1,750 as our best chronograph under $2,000. We love this chronograph because it stuck with the same classic 70s inspired case styling like our other past PRX picks and focused all their energy on the standard 3, 6, 9 reverse panda dial design. In case you missed our coverage of the Tissot PRX 35mm in our best watches under $500 guide, only to be followed up with the Tissot PRX Powermatic 80 in the best watches under $1,000 guide, the PRX case is purposefully retro-futuristic. Inspired by the 70s PRX references, it sports satin and high-polish finishes, crisp robot-like lines, a wide barrel shape with integrated lugs, and sits at 14.8mm thick. The PRX Chrono at 42mm in diameter is the largest of the new PRX line, and the 2mm increase over the Powermatic 80 is noticeable on wrist, but maintains wearable proportions thanks to the relatively stout 46.5mm lug-to-lug. That's made possible by the flat, integrated lugs that simply square off at the case's corners, while still providing the necessary infrastructure to house the bracelet. Although certainly not a diver, especially with the push-pull unit on the watch's right side, the PRX Chronograph does sport a modest 100 meters of water resistance and an equally modest amount of lume on the markers and the hands, although it won't win any awards there. The black and white reverse panda dial is one of two colorways offered for the PRX Chrono, the other being a deep navy blue and white combination, but our monochrome version is the most true to the intentional throwback aesthetic, especially when accounting for the high-polished gold accents on the inset loomed markers and the hands. In our opinion, the dial has excellent cadence. It oscillates between black and white, beginning with the outermost black chapter ring that frames the dial and allows the eye to bounce around between its details. The straight vertical brushing on the dial background also serves to break up the many circular shapes of the subdials themselves. The PRX Chrono subdials are laid out in a traditional 3, 6, and 9 pattern, courtesy of the Valjoux caliber at the watch's heart, employing a trio of 30-minute, 12-hour, and 60-second counters, and a seconds-hand stopwatch controlled by the adjacent pushers. Internally, the ETA Valjoux A05.H31 automatic caliber powers the Tissot PRX Chronograph, capable of reserving up to 60 hours of power. With 27 joules, a simple date complication, and 3 subdials, the movement provides overall solid value at this price point. Tissot also utilizes this movement in other chronograph references like the Tissot Heritage 1973 and the PRS 516. As we mentioned, the A05.H31 builds in a trio of 30-minute, 12-hour, and 60-second counters with clean sweeps and clean legibility, each with rose gold hands that match the chronograph's main hour, minute, and seconds hands, tying the dial design together in a palpably cohesive manner. The Tissot PRX Chronograph employs the same single-link ultra-stealthy stainless steel bracelet integrated into the PRX Powermatic 80 and the PRX 35mm. The single-link stainless steel bracelet is interchangeable, given Tissot's quick-release functionality under the razor-sharp case. It keeps the same 12mm lug width as the other PRX models as well, and although there aren't a lot of straps and bracelets floating around the market at that size, much of the PRX's charm stems from the iconic flat-link single-row default bracelet that comes standard with a watch. As such, we'd recommend picking up the PRX Chronograph to wear as is, like our other top PRX picks. And if you're familiar with our other minor Tissot gripes, you'll know that we'll disagree again with the decision to incorporate a butterfly clasp on the PRX Chrono, as we just find it a bit cumbersome and a bit overwrought, even for a watch with an elevated price point of $1,750. Moving on, our next pick is by a brand that can be described as follows: independent, Swiss heritage, and affordable luxury, and produces mostly mechanical references. Any guesses? Well, you'd be spot on if you guessed Oris, and their Big Crown ProPilot Big Date 41mm shapes up as our best pilot's watch pick under $2,000. For a brand that's been around for more than a century since their inception in 1904, they've remained privately held and as a byproduct have pushed innovation. Clocking in at $1,900, let's take a closer look at the newest Big Crown iteration first introduced by Oris in 1938. Starting with the case, you'd be correct if some style elements seem tangibly familiar. We covered the Oris ProPilot Excalibur 400 in our best everyday watch guide, which shares many of the same design cues as its bigger cousin, namely the coin edge fixed bezel finish that extends onto the screw-down crown and the brushed multi-piece stainless steel case. At 41mm in the name, the Big Crown ProPilot does have substantial wrist presence with a 49.3mm lug-to-lug, but largely evens out with a relatively slim 12mm thickness, so we're confident that it could still function as an everyday wear piece for a larger wrist. Our wearer here with a measurement just shy of 8 inches. Like the Excalibur 400, the finishing gives a hyper-industrial near-robotic air, which we find absolutely perfect for a form-meets-function pilot's watch. For example, the coin edge finishing. Although extremely easy on the eyes, it functions twofold. It also provides tactile grip for quick adjustments, as evidenced with the screw-down crown. Big Crown ProPilot Big Date 41mm certainly pushes towards affordable luxury, but it still maintains the cornerstone functions of a true pilot's watch to back up the price tag. High contrast between the dark anthracite dial and the bright white raised applied Arabic numerals, a large overall diameter providing plenty of negative space for easy legibility with a quick glance, and the utility of super bright lume numerals, indices, and inset hands. Last but certainly not least, a big quick reference date window at the 3 o'clock rounds out its most functional features. Oris is one of the few who still manufacture full mechanical watches, but in this case the Big Crown ProPilot 41mm utilizes a 26-jewel self-winding caliber, dubbed the Oris 751. It employs a Sellita SW200-1 as a base, with modifications to include that bigger date window, and a custom-branded central rotor which tame up to 38 hours of power, all visible through the bright exhibition window through the watch's caseback. With credit going to the SW200-1 base, the 28,000 beat rate also gives the Big Crown ProPilot Big Date a notably smooth second-hand sweep that gives this 41mm a true sense of affordable luxury. There are currently a few different case finishes, and the same holds true for straps and bracelets, with options ranging from canvas-like textile to smoothly finished leather to full stainless steel. Similarly to the Sinn 556i, the bracelet or strap choice goes a long way to dress up or dress down the case, which is to say that the Big Crown ProPilot Big Date is at its core versatile as well. However, if you can't find any option to your liking, this top-notch pilot's watch also sports a 20mm lug width, making any third-party option of the same size fully compatible. Having only been around for less than 2 full decades, Christopher Ward has made giant waves. You'll find a Trident series reference in our best watches under $1,000 guide, and it quickly comes as no surprise as to why the C65 Aquitaine GMT is our best GMT watch pick under $2,000. The rich warm color palette to the glossy rounded bezel, across the dial details to the bubbly dome sapphire crystal, Christopher Ward firmly places the C65 Aquitaine GMT in a bygone era, filled with continent-jumping explorers with an appetite for adventure. As an all-in-one GMT diver hybrid, the Christopher Ward C65 Aquitaine GMT certainly takes on a busier form than our previous picks, but it exudes functionality. Let's begin with the case. Aesthetically, the C65 Aquitaine GMT scores high for the near full brush stainless steel silhouette with hints of high polish gracing the bezel and the screw-down crown. The Aquitaine is a true evolution of the Christopher Ward C65 Trident diver, and it fittingly gets its name for a seaside French locale, home to famed diver Jacques Cousteau. As an evolution, the C65 Aquitaine GMT comes with some case upgrades, a new curved sapphire light-catching bezel insert, and a new domed sapphire crystal. Refracting more light, the bezel naturally brightens any color that sits beneath it for a rich viewing experience no less engaging than the dial itself. Clocking in at 41mm with a stout 46.68mm lug-to-lug and a thin 12.7mm thickness, we're inclined to say it wears truer to a 39 or a 40mm on the wrist thanks to the shorter lug-to-lug. True to function, the C65 Aquitaine GMT also allows 200 meters of water resistance backed up by the branded screw-down unit on the rightmost flank. Classically styled with sharp, modern accents. That's how we'll categorize the C65 Aquitaine GMT's dial. Classic for the use of loomed circular and triangular markers, the absence of any applied numerals, a clean outer chapter ring, a loomed seconds hand counterbalance, a red-tip GMT hand, and a jet black dial background which provides high contrast for the modern touches, namely the sharp, highly polished hands and framed indices. The C65 Aquitaine GMT, as well as all new Christopher Ward references, swaps Christopher Ward logo type for the flag logo mark for a clean northern hemisphere, and moves the date window to the 6 o'clock position from the 3 for a crisp vertical presentation. Seemingly, Christopher Ward's MO from day one has been affordable watches powered by top-tier movements, staying at the cutting edge of watchmaking technology. It comes as no surprise then that the C65 Aquitaine employs one of Sellita's Series 300 movements. Keeping this four-hander ticking is the self-winding SW330-2. Here's a quick breakdown. an impressive 56 hours of power reserve for travel, 25 joules, a smooth 28,800 beat rate, and of course, and most importantly, the central GMT complication for accurate travel timekeeping that can be set independently from the hour and the seconds hands. And speaking of accuracy, the SW330-2 sports an average deviation of only plus to minus 5 seconds per day. We drooled over the black and red Cordura integrated strap on the C60 Trident Pro, and again we have to applaud Christopher Ward for the full stainless steel bracelet native to the C65 Aquitaine GMT. From the 3-link design to the full brush finish to the smooth edges, it's sophisticated but remains accessible and markedly more toolish than units on other divers that often sport high polished center link finishing. Nomos' ultra-minimalist Bauhaus-inspired references go hand in hand with the dress watch style, and while we had a tough time deciding which Nomos reference to deem best between the Ludwig, Tangente, and the Orion, we settled on the Ludwig 38 as our best dress watch pick around $2,000. Like our best dive watch pick, our best dress watch pick does surpass our $2,000 price point by a marginal amount with an MSRP of $2,260. However, Nomos does offer other Ludwig options below our qualifying threshold, should your budget strictly not allow for anything past $2,000. The Ludwig 38 in enamel white, however, takes our pick nonetheless with a new glossy dial, a premium leather strap, and Nomos' own alpha caliber at its heart. The Ludwig family is offered up as a pair, the 38 shown here and a smaller 33 which maintains the same form as the 38, leaving out the 38 6 o'clock subdial. Even with a quick first glance, the dial design's extreme restraint, the ultra-thin lines, mirror-like high polish, and the premium leather strap all add up to true refinement. Beginning, as always, with the case, Nomos implies a 3-part, highly polished stainless steel unit, with an ultra-thin fixed dome bezel, a push-pull crown, and a minimalist mirror-like caseback on the 180. Between the gentle sloping curves of the caseback and the 6.8mm thickness, the Ludwig 237 is a low-profile watch in addition to its minimalism. Although rounded up to 38 in the name, as the Ludwig 37.5 probably wouldn't have sounded so classy, the diameter also qualifies this dress watch as a refined everyday watch as well, in line with our 40mm or less parameter for a go-anywhere-do-anything reference. Interestingly enough, acting as a counterbalance, the Ludwig 38 employs a set of long, thin lugs that measure 47.5mm lug to lug. That compensates for the overall modest diameter and middling thickness on the wrist. Which is to say the Ludwig 38 stays classy without looking too small. The Ludwig 38 in enamel white is preceded by the smaller Ludwig, a characteristically thin 35mm older sibling. In addition to the slight increase in case size, the Ludwig 38 uses a more glossy enamel white dial but keeps the same applied Roman numerals and the temperature blued hour, minute, and subdial pointers. Under the crystal clear sapphire, some made in Germany smiling text rounds out the features of the stark but highly refined Ludwig 38, leaving the hand-wound alpha caliber up next. Tucked behind the rounded, high-polished caseback, the Nomos Ludwig 38 ticks with the aid of a true Nomos classic, their own alpha caliber. In addition to the Ludwig line, the alpha movement also powers the Tangente, Orion Ludwig, Club, Tetra, and Nomos' 33 series. It offers up a fully manual winding experience, a power reserve of up to 43 hours, and 17 joules, all packed into a mere 2.6mm height. The alpha caliber is well noted for its reliability, with a cult-like following for precise timekeeping in a razor-thin profile. We'd wager Nomos keeps employing the movement in any new releases, only further bolstered by their new in-house escapement technology or swing system. Like the rest of the Ludwig 38, the thin cordovan strap with a dark brown Horween shell and a glossy finish pairs well with the silky dial. The 38 also uses a fairly standard 19mm lug width, so finding other options shouldn't be all that difficult if you're looking for a different colorway. Since the attention to detail is so extremely high, like the edge stitching for example, with all of Nomos' offerings, we'd say this default option is best left as is.